Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Kickback. I am your host, the Dude. And if you can read in the comment section, it says, "We do not discriminate. We do not say harsh words. We do not say anything that is racist of any form. We do not do anything that is crazy or outrageous when it comes to this world that we live in. And we just want everyone to understand and know that this is a place where you can feel as if you're in a place of love. You're in a place of just, you know, inclusivity, if I'm saying the word right, and that it is a place of transparency and a place of love. And we love all of our guests and we love all of the people that are a part of this community. Dave, how you doing tonight, my brother?
I am doing fine, my brother. It's been a good day.
All righty.
God is still in the blessing business.
Man, God is always in the blessing business, man. He is a powerful God. I tell you what, look at man, tonight me and the wife were shopping and we went to the Walmart and they had a sale on tires and we were going to get new tires. One of my Christmas gifts was going to be tires, and we walked into Walmart and they had tires on sale. People had ordered tires but never picked them up. So they put
Ooh,
these tires
yeah.
on sale for 60
Yes,
bucks a
yes,
piece.
yes,
60 bucks a piece, man.
yes. That's a blessing.
We were looking at spending $200 for a set of tires, just the tires. That's not even having them installed.
Mm.
That was two tires, 200 bucks. That was $100 a piece. I got them at 60 bucks a piece. God is good, man.
Yes, he is.
Man, I saw
That
your
makes me feel
picture.
that, 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 that makes me feel like singing a song from Good Times.
Ain't we lucky we got him?
I know that's right.
Right. Man, I don't know what's going on with the network tonight, but I've tried to get in touch with Brother Riley and get him into the room. I don't know. I was trying something different, and I guess that didn't work out. I don't know what's going on with Brother Riley, but we was trying to get him in the room, trying to get him on the line. I hope that we still can get him here because he has a good story to tell about life and where he's at and how his faith has brought him through where he's at. And of course, I've got a couple of good questions to ask and a good conversation to have with him about life,
Hmm.
religion, family, love, and all those good things. So I'm hoping that we can get him in the room. I don't know why we're having so many technical difficulties. But what I was saying is I saw the pictures that you sent me of that wall. So you closed in a door is what you did?
No, it was a 8 by 8 opening where you could pass between rooms.
Okay. Okay. I thought it was a doorway.
No, no. What you saw was half of the wall up, and the other half, the other exposed part of the framing that it was laying down on the ground. I was measuring to cut it out to piece it in.
Okay. Okay, Mr.
And then the
Handyman.
second picture, after I had got that side of the, say again?
I said, okay, Mr. Handyman.
Yeah, hey, that's what we got to do. We got to be handy when we need to be.
Right, when we need to be. I get it. I totally understand. I get it. But on my end, I've got to be a little more handy. I'm not, never really just been a handyman. I've been a person that, if it's, just being honest, if it really needs to happen and it's dire, then I'll do it. But other than that, I'm not a handyman. I was a chef for 20 years, so
Right.
you know, I don't mind
Well,
cooking.
that's
I
a
don't,
whole nother talent right there.
right. I don't mind cooking, but, you know, I don't cook like I used to anymore. Uh, I think
Mm.
once I just kind of get out of from being in a kitchen for so long, you know, after you do certain things for so long, you kind of get in a stage where you just over it and you don't want to do it, and then you
Right.
get back into it. If you can understand what I'm saying,
No, I understand.
right?
I
So
definitely understand.
I'm going through that stage of I really don't want to be in the kitchen, but I love the crazy part about it is I love cooking.
Yeah,
I
cooking is an
love
art.
right, and I love being in that element. I love being, you know, over a pot, putting stuff together. It's
Hmm
like
Um,
it's like chemistry.
hmm There's Brother Riley.
hey,
Mr.
y'all
Riley
know
Walton,
what's going on, Doc?
man, I can't call it, my brother. How are you this evening?
I'm doing fine, doing fine. How about you guys? Y'all ready for Thanksgiving?
Wait, we working towards it. I ain't saying we ready, but we working towards it.
I know that's right. I feel the pain. I feel that pain.
And sorry about the technical difficulties, my brother. Hey,
Oh, no problem.
sometimes these electronic devices don't work the way we intend them to work. You're what I said, the way we intend them to work.
Right. Because I know, I said, man, this must be a button I'm hitting wrong.
That's why I said they don't always work the way we intend them to work.
Yeah,
So like I tell
yes,
most of my
sir. Yes,
guests,
sir.
I said, listen, this interview is gonna be like a mullet. It's gonna be business in the front and party at the back.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So with that being said, welcome to the kickback. Introduce
Thank you.
yourself and tell the world who you are and what you do nowadays.
All right, man. My name is Riley Walton. I'm 62 years old. I have a wonderful family. Been married for 35 years. Two wonderful kids, working kids, that is. They're out of my pocket, but, man, just a man that loved the Lord and love people. You know, all my friends that knows me, they know that I think of people first and second, and myself second. So that's what you get when you get me.
All righty. So you're a people person. So like I said, we're gonna go business up front and then we're gonna party on the back end. So here's the thing. I've got a few questions to ask you about what and who made Riley who you are. From what I understand, you grew up here in Nashville, Tennessee, and you went out to the NFL for a little while. Is that right?
Yes. I dibber dabble in the league for about 3 years. Grew up out west Nashville, out of Preston Taylor Projects. Man, and I'm trying to think. I was in the second grade when we went out there. Yeah, and also I want to, before I get that far, I want to also say I worked for the sheriff department for 32 years, so
Now,
that's part of my career move there as well.
right. That
So,
is a feat.
and I'm
That is a feat.
semi-retired.
A lot of people can't
Yeah,
say that
yeah.
they've worked a job for that long. Now, how many jobs outside of working for the sheriff's department have you had in your lifetime?
Oh man, I started when I was 16 at Bass Junior High School, which is called Junior High School at the time, as a janitor. And the crazy part about that, my best friend in high school, brother, worked at the job, taught me everything I know about buffing floors and waxing and all that good stuff. Before I even knew my best friend, I had met his brother. I worked with his older brother. So that's where it was a program at the time that would allow teenagers to work instead of being in the streets, to work at different places like janitorial system, restaurants or whatever. And I forgot the name of that program, but it allowed me to be able to All my parents had to do was sign off on it, and
Right.
we was able to work.
Programs like that don't exist anymore. But I know the program that you are speaking of, and it's been so long ago, none of us really know the name of it. So question number one, what age did you fall in love with the sport football?
Man, I believe I was 7 years old, and my first NFL football game was actually the Super Bowl that I saw on TV. It was the Redskins and the Dolphins, Super Bowl 7, and of
Okay.
course the Redskins lost, and the Dolphins went undefeated. That was their
Oh, that
undefeated
was
season. That was my
72.
first.
Oh man, what was that?
Yeah,
76,
72.
70? What was that? 74, 70 some 70. I
70
knew this.
maybe.
I can't remember.
72.
And my age may be wrong. I might
72.
have been younger than that. Yeah, I may have been young there, but I remember watching that game, and that's when I fell in love with football.
Yeah, because
I picked the
I've got
Redskins because of their
my
helmets.
yeah, my best friend is a Dolphins fanatic, and he always talk. We're the only team that's had an undefeated season. Man, get out of here! That's not the only team in the league. All righty, so
Right,
you
right.
say you was about 7 years old. All righty, so what
Yeah.
was life like growing up in your neighborhood? I know you say you grew up in Preston Taylor projects in West
Project.
Nashville. What was life like
Right.
growing up in Preston Taylor projects?
Man, President Taylor at that time was one of the, I guess, very known projects for violence or whatever. Along with, I think there's another one out East Nashville. Man, I can't keep up with the name. You have to excuse me for my memory. But President Taylor at that time, I mean, you could be playing in your backyard, sitting on your porch, and you can see somebody running past you from gunfire. I can remember somebody running through our backyard, through our back door, through the living room to the front door to try to get to somebody. And but at that time it was we had I'm trying to think, we was on the part called Preston Drive, and then it was a bottom part which we call on the bottom part of Preston Drive. So the first 5 rows on the beginning part of Preston Drive was, it was okay. It wasn't that bad. But as you go deep into that drive, you go run into guys hanging out on the corner and up to no good and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was very, I mean, you can go to the ice cream truck to get some ice cream and get, not you get robbed, the ice cream man get robbed right there in front of you. So, yeah.
So
I
then
mean,
you put your ice cream money back in your pocket and count them back away from the ice cream trucks. What it sound like to me?
right, right. A lot of dice shooting. I mean, people shooting dice and robberies taking place right there. Just some of the things that I can remember. I can remember going to the bus stop for school and on a Monday, and a guy dead body right there at the beginning of the drive with his got brains out on the ground. So from overnight shooting. Uh, they said some Muslims was involved with it or whatever. That's what you hear. So
Right, right.
yeah, it was kind of
There's
rough. Yeah.
always neighborhood
hmm
gossip, but you were literally a kid walking to the bus stop and there was a dead body there?
Yeah, yeah. Where actually I take that back. You saw the remnants of brain fragments on the ground. They had picked the body up, but you saw the remain of the brain fragments on the ground when somebody was shot overnight. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that is pretty wild growing up in a neighborhood like that. So here's the question. Growing up in a neighborhood like that, what made you not be like your surroundings and grow up like the people that was around you? Um, what what in your mind made it that you wanted to do something different than the people that you were growing up with? Because when we're teenagers and when we're small, there's a thing called peer pressure, and there's a thing, where we follow in the footsteps of the people we're around, and then sometimes they say your neighborhood can influence who you are. What made you
Exactly.
want to be different and do different from the people that you were growing up around?
Well, I would say this first and foremost. God put the right people in my life because I was headed to a different road of destruction. Because when my parents broke up, we actually didn't live in the project. That's how we ended up in the projects because my mother and father, when they broke up, my mother, we stayed with one of my cousins for about 6 months until she was able to get an apartment for herself. And that's how we ended up in the project. That breakup devastated me because my dad was in our lives from the time I was born and my brother was born. And I got in trouble a lot, fights in school, stuff like that. I never proclaimed I was a leader of a gang, but because we didn't have really gangs, we just had groups. And the school that we went to, Bass, it was, blacks versus whites type of thing, stuff like that. So we were getting all type of bathroom fights or whatever. And I was in a lot of them and kept going to the principal's office or whatever. But, I would say, one of my principals there, oh man, I'm trying to think of his name. But he took to me and started kind of hitting me on right track by trying to get me on the football team. Cause I didn't really play football until I think I was 9 maybe. And, but we played like intramural sports and stuff like that. But he was trying to get me on the football team, at Bass. And of course I had an incident there that pretty much was getting ready to get me kicked out of the school system, that I'm not proud of, but that was the thing that actually changed my life. Got into it with a teacher, Mr. Bryant was one of our favorite teachers out of all teachers. And he, used to kind of kid around with us. He was just like one of us. And I think one day he wasn't in a good mood. And me and one of my friends, Lamont, we was playing around, horse playing around. He kept saying he was going to give us an F. So we went up to his desk to cover up his grade book to keep from giving us an F for that day. And we was in a shop class. That was the last class of the day. And man, Mr. Bryant slapped me so hard when he slapped me, it was like he slapped the whole class because everybody stopped and looked to the point where we was all shocked. I was in shock. And I looked to my right and I just saw a stool and I took the stool and threw it at him and I ran out of the classroom. I don't know if I hit him or not. A lot of my classmates say I did not hit him, but that's what got me to the office. And then, principal got involved with it. Then couldn't go back to school, got suspended, and it took me a good while we had to go to court. We had my dad and mom got involved. I was embarrassed about that. And, that's what pretty much I say changed my life for us, getting away from, crime and violence and going the wrong path.
Now, here's a quick question. You said when you were, I don't exactly know what age you said you were, but you said your parents split up and you all had to move out of the house and you stayed with a cousin for a little while until she got housing. Did you feel any resentment towards your father for the separation of your mother and your father? Because a lot of children, they resent one parent in the midst of a breakup. So did you feel any resentment or any anger toward your father when your parents split up?
I did. I actually was mad at both of them, believe it or not. I was mad at both of them. I was mad at mom for leaving. And then I was mad at my dad for the reason why we left. My dad, he was alcoholic. I mean, he was one of a functioning alcoholic. He would get paid. He would work Monday through Friday, get paid, come home, give mama some money, then he gone. He's in the streets. And we probably wouldn't see him till Sunday. And he would get ready for work. And he was hanging out and drinking or whatever. Then he was kind of violent too when he got drunk. He would like to fight all the time and fuss and argue and everything like that. I mean, I had to at one point take a a knife to my dad's back when my mom was pregnant with my little sister. And he kind of threw my mom on the bed, and I just grabbed a knife and just went ballistic, you know. And he threw me to the wall and didn't stop when he thought he hurt me. And then she was fighting him back and all that. My brother, man, I think it affected him in a different way, and I think it took him a lot longer to overcome it because he would just be sitting there just shaking and shaking. We both would when we heard our daddy's voice, when we heard that other voice of my father. But I was mad at both of them at the time. And I think I acted out because I was mad at mom. But my mom, I give her a lot of credit. She sat me down one day and asked me, she made me answer my own question. She said, do you want your dad to continue to jump on me? I said, no. Do you want your dad to continue to drink and be that different person? I said, no. She said, well, I don't either. That's why we're not with him. And that light clicked on. That light clicked on and said, okay, now I understand why we left. So I wasn't mad at her anymore. Then I started being mad at him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But see, the thing is, a lot of kids don't get the opportunity because a lot of moms don't sit down and have those particular conversations. So that's wonderful that your mom could sit down and articulate, and you were an intelligent enough young man that you could understand that she didn't want to be in that situation, and no woman should ever be in a situation where they're being abused, whether it's your dad, your brother, your stepdad, or whoever. No, in actuality, no person should be in a situation where they're being abused, and she got out.
Right.
Kudos to your mom for being
Yes.
intelligent enough to get you and your brother and your soon-to-be baby sister out of that
Mm-hmm.
situation. And how long did it take for you and your dad to mend that relationship, knowing that he was an alcoholic and an abusive man? How old were you when you all figured out how to mend those bridges, or did you ever mend that bridge with your father?
It took some time. It took some time because I can remember my uncle from Michigan coming down visiting, and we ended up over at my grandmother's house, and he kind of pulled me outside to the side, and that's when my dad was staying by himself. He had bought a house and everything, and he had said, "Hey man," he said, how often do you see your father?" And I said, "I really don't." He said, "You know, he really miss you guys, and he really love you guys." He said, "That's why he's close by." So he pretty much explained to me that he was missing us. And he said, "You should go talk to him every time." He said, "Just talk to him." He said, "I understand how you feeling, but just talk to him." So that was one of the kind of reasons why I kind of started kind of easing up. And then I think what really, my mom, man, I'm telling you, she's remarkable. I asked her one day, I said, "Mom, do you still love our father?" And she said, yeah, she did. And she says, "I don't want y'all to be not treating him right." And he said, "That's still your father, and you still should have a relationship with him." And I give my dad a little credit, even though we weren't together. When we moved into projects, he moved up the street on 40th Avenue, and I would say it might have been 4 blocks from where we lived in the project that we could walk to his house if we needed to. He stayed close by. Actually, when my sister was born, my mama had a job at World and Bag. She would work midnights. He would come down and spend the night with us, help us out with our sister, because we was changing diapers, making bottles and stuff like that. And he would come and help us out until she came home, and then got us ready for school, and then we went to school. So they still kind of worked together, even though they wasn't together.
Man, that is wonderful. And a lot of people don't do that when they split up. I go my way, you go your way.
Right.
You're the primary parent for the kids, so you got responsibility for the kids. But for him to be a stand-up man and still, even after all of his indiscretions, still come and make sure his children were good. Hey, that was a time when men were different. But there are still some
Right.
good men out here right now. Now, other than your father, who were some of your heroes when you were growing up as a kid? So who were the people that you admired and you looked up to and you said one day, because we all do it as children, one day I want to be like so-and-so. Besides your dad, who were some of your other heroes growing up?
Man, it's a lot of, and like I said, God had placed a lot of good people. I could start with my baseball coach, James Brown. James Brown came over. One of his cousins lived in the project. He recruited us to play baseball. So I actually played baseball before I played football. And he would come pick us up and take us over to, at the time it was Fort Greene, middle school, Fort Greene and Washington School over in North Nashville area, over there by I think it was by Headley Park. Sometimes we used to walk. And he was a guy that kind of took us in, man, and he was really probably wasn't that much older than we were. He was a young adult, but he took us in and started just drilling life situation in us, positive things, to us. He was a mailman. And James Brown was one guy. Dan Hayes is another, my football coach. He ended up being a pastor of a church called Glory Memorial in North Nashville off of Herman Street. And when we went from baseball, we started playing football for Dan Hayes. Now, we used to have to walk over there to practice. There used to be about 20 of us, the project kids together. My friend Troy and Nathan and Tim and all of us, we used to walk over there and get chased by dogs and all that stuff. But Dan Hayes really put a mark on us as well for his trying to be better men, and he stayed on that. He was real feisty. He would yell and holler at you and all that good stuff. And but he done a good job there. I can go to my high school basketball coach. Now my coach Williams, football coach, I just spoke on well, I'm gonna go back a page. I just spoke at an event for Coach Ridley over at Martin Luther King Magnet. They did a historic marker for him, and they wanted one of the 81 team members to speak on his behalf. Where none of the guys was able to show up, so I showed up and spoke on his behalf. He put a lot of life lessons into us. Sometimes he would stop practice and just talk to us about life, girls and boys, school. Just different things. Coach Williams, the football coach, he was a Christian man. He would not allow the other coaches to cuss on the field. He actually would get on a coach if you heard one of them cuss at us. Coach Williams was set us on a good path. We had an event, I think about 5 years ago for the coaches, and a lot of the guys stood up and said if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't know anything about church. I could tell you a quick story about one of the coaches that was real hard on us all. Coach Williams used to allow me to leave practice early on Thursday to go sing in the choir. This is when I first, got baptized and I sung in the choir. The choir bus would come pick me up, and I would leave practice early. So he called me up one day after practice during the week. He said, look, you're going to have to make a decision. You either have to play football or you going to go sing in the choir. And you know what I told him? I said, well, Coach, I'm quitting today. I'm going to sing in the choir. I made my mind up that being a Christian was more important to me at that time because my father, when he finally stopped drinking, he started going to church and he would come pick me up. And this is the part where I start forgiving him and looking at him differently. And I would go to church with him. And then my sister, who was old enough to come with us at the time, and we both got baptized with him. So it meant a lot to me. If that helped my father get to that point, then I was all in. So I would say my father did have an influence on me for his church, even though my mom, she took us to church too, but we didn't go all the time because we didn't have a car or whatever. But sometimes the church bus in the neighborhood from one of the white churches down there in Charlotte would come pick us up. A lot of us just was going just to eat, to be honest with you, get extra food to eat. They wasn't really paying much attention to what was going on, but
No,
we
they mind was
still
on their
had,
place.
yeah, yeah, right. So we still had a mind of, just going or whatever. But I told the coach I was going to quit, but God is good because when I went to choir practice rehearsal, um, the choir director noticed that I was in a good mood because I really love football. And she asked me when it happened. I mean, while I'm in that mood, and I told her that the football coach told me I either have to choose football or the choir, and I choose the choir. And you know what she did for me? And I would say through God, she changed the schedule, moved it back an hour where I could make it and not have to miss practice. And I looked at that as, when you sacrifice for God, He will make a way for you.
Man, hey, he will. He will make a way for you every time. So it sounds like you've had a you've had a lot of influential people in your life that made sure you made it along the way. And this is something I heard the other day. There are so many prayers in the background that we don't even know about. Praying grandmas, praying aunties, praying whoever, that the blessings carry on. Because we hear so many times nowadays people talk about generational curses, but nobody talks about those praying ancestors of ours, those praying great
Right,
grandmas, those great aunties, those great granddaddies, those great uncles that were praying for us before we even made it into this world, before we even knew what this world had in store for us. They were praying for
right.
us, and the payoff is the life that we're living right now. Is the
Yes,
life
yes.
that we are,
I agree with that. I
the
agree with
things
that
that,
100%.
yes, sir. Amen. Amen. We are living in a day and a time that we are living in this world, but this is not our world. That was a beautiful quote that I heard today from a lady that stopped me and the wife in the grocery store. She says, "Hey, I just want to stop you all and say, if nobody has told you all that they love you today, I love you. I love."
Man,
This
that's
is a
awesome.
random
Yeah,
lady walking through the Walmart,
man.
just says, if nobody's told you all today that they love you, I love you and God loves you. And we live
Yeah,
in this world, but we're not of this world.
right,
And that
right.
was a gem, man. And it's not often
That's
that
great.
people will take their time to just say something nice.
Say something nice. That's it. That's it. And I mean, it's impactful. The word love, just within itself, is powerful. It's a powerful word. It's powerful. Words is powerful when it's put in action. You know, show the love of Christ.
Yes.
Show love.
Yes,
I mean, that's
showing
what
love,
the
but it's the
gospel is
love
pretty
of
much all
Christ, and
about.
it's just the love of people, just the love of people.
Yeah.
Now, my next question is this: how did it feel to be drafted into the NFL?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you how good it felt. I was sitting by that phone call for so long, and we didn't have call waiting at the time. So. And so you couldn't nobody use the phone. So during the draft, I actually went through 12 rounds and I didn't get drafted. But when the draft was over with, the call came after I think 10:30 that night, and it was Chicago Bears, and they asked me, "How do you like becoming a Bear?" He said, "You wasn't the draft is over, but you are our first free agent call." And I said yes immediately because they had just won the Super Bowl. So I said yes immediately, and I felt on cloud nine after that. Just the fact that I did get a call from the NFL and my dreams have been true.
All righty, so you didn't get drafted, but you did make it to the NFL. And
Yes,
how was how long were you on the Chicago Bears?
I was actually on the team for 2 years, from 86, 87. I got 2 year credit. I'm part of the NFLPA Players Association, and I got 2 year credit. Even though I kind of bounced around here or there, I got 2-year credit in the NFL. Now they just dropped it from. It used to be you had to be vested. You had to have 4 years to be vested, but it dropped it down to 3 years. And I thought I was pretty close because I had a few games that I played with. I had 5 games I played with Kansas City. You know, when I left Chicago, I had went to Kansas City for 5 games, and then after that, I was released. And then that summer, I went to the Jets. I went to the Jets for camp. Now I take that back. It wasn't the Jets; it was Atlanta. Atlanta had called me, and I drove down to Atlanta and tried out. They wanted to sign me right away, but I got in touch with my agent, and they told me to get in touch with the agent, let him work out the details, and I told my agent specifically, it don't have to be a bunch of money. It could be just a little bit more than what I was making when I was in Chicago, because they kept 6 tight ends at the time, which is unheard of to this day. And they had already one back set where they had like multiple tight ends blocking, but they wanted me to be more of the pass catcher tight end at the time, because I was more of a pass catcher. And that's probably why I didn't really stay in Chicago long, because, you know, we had Walter Payton and we ran the ball a lot. But what helped me make the team there was, you know, I was a good pass receiver. And, you know, I could block some, but they wanted me to beef up. And when I did beef up, I think everybody was covering me then. So, you know, I slowed down a lot.
Right.
But make a long story short, I went from Atlanta, and when I got the contract in the mail, which I was so upset about, it was a contract from the New York Jets. So I called my agent and I said, well, what happened to the Atlanta contract? Well, they didn't want to sign for the money we were trying to get. And I was so upset with him because I told him it wasn't about the money, but he got me at the Jets camp, and I flew up there with a couple of guys from Vanderbilt, and we got there at mini camp, and that first day we had a physical and everything, and went out there on the field and warm up. They say no, they called me and about 6 other guys back into the locker room, and they released us right there. And and I didn't know why I got released. I found out later on when I got the letter saying that I failed the physical. As he said, I had a stiff left big toe. I'll be subject to turf toe. As I've been playing football since I was 9 years old, I never had turf toe in my life.
So
But I had
they cut you for turf
yeah,
toe?
they cut me for turf toe, which I didn't have turf toe. They say I was subject to get turf toe. And they had, you know, they played on artificial turf up there at Shea Stadium at the time. And but I had a teammate of mine at Tennessee State that was on the team. So I called Ozzie up and asked him, hey man, can you find out what was the deal? And he found out that they signed too many tight ends. And I was one of the last one they signed. And so they cut 6 of us.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
6 of us coming in camp. Yeah.
So
So
that was the end of your football career?
now it actually gets better. Just 2 weeks before camp opened up, I get a call from my college coach, Joe Gilliam from Tennessee State, and he asked me, "You want to play some football?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "My brother is over player personnel in Minnesota," and he said, "You're not." Yeah,
Skull!
I knew I was gonna get somebody attention on that one. And he said his name was Frank Gilliam. He said, "Now I told him you're not going there to fill a roster spot. You're going there to make the team." And he said, "You play football like the tight end I know you can. You will make that team." And man, I was so focused, man. I went there. Got there 2 weeks before camp opened up. You know, we used to have morning workouts, and then they would give us a playbook, go over the plays and stuff like that, and then it would be for like 3 hours workout, and then you go back to the hotel, and then you had the day to rest to yourself. But I would go jog. I would spend time studying playbook. And then when camp opened up, man, I had a good camp to the point where they kept me. I was on the opening day roster against Buffalo. And like I said, NFL is a business. And that Thursday, before we get ready to leave Friday to go to Buffalo to play Buffalo, I got called into the office, and they said they gonna have to put me on waivers because at the time they called a numbers game because they had to make roster move. We had a lot of offensive linemen was some was holding out, some got injured, so they had to they had to have extra linemen for that. The tight end that they drafted that year, they had put him on IR, which injury reserve, and he he was on injury reserve to make room for me to get in that spot. So I don't know if you guys remember Coach Merlocki for the Titans. He was on that team at the time. And then they had a tight end called Tim Jordan and Carlton with Banks. I think it was Carlton Banks. I forget his last name, but make a long story short, played against New Orleans Saints that last preseason game. Played against my old Bears over in Sweden. Went to Sweden to play them in preseason. When I got cleared on waivers, I just was hanging around, lifting weights, just working out. Season had started. Wasn't on the active roster, but at the time it was kind of like practice squad. They got a different name for it now, but that's when practice squads were developed back then. They could keep, I think, 6 to 7 players or whatever. And so I was pretty much on that. Still got paid, but they actually told me that I, didn't have to practice anymore. They started making some more moves, so they moved me out to the point where they said I could go home. If they need me, they'll call me back. They just told me just stay in shape. So I came home and got a job at Roadway, slinging boxes on the truck, stayed in shape, worked out at, I forgot the workout place at the time, but stayed in shape to that whole year and went through. But I had made up my mind when I walked up that field against the Saints that if I didn't make it, that was it. I was gonna go here with my life, and if I was gonna stick, then I was gonna go stick it out. So that was the end of my NFL career. So now I get married, lived in Chicago, still stayed in Chicago, and I got a call from the World Football League it was called the World League at the time. Trials was in Birmingham, Alabama. So I drove all the way from Chicago, went to Birmingham, tried out, made the team, and was put into the draft. And got drafted to the Germany team. Memory ain't that good these days, but after playing in the NFL, there's no other league like it. And I didn't want to be taking family, I mean, I just called it quits from that point. I told them they can give. I was nice about it. I said, hey, I'm done with football, and that was it.
And so that was the end of your career, going into the World League. And
Going into the World League. Yep.
did you ever actually play a game in the World League?
No, never did. Never did. Just went to the trial, made the trial because the trial was for getting a lot of talent to be put in a pool of a draft pool. I think it was 6 teams at the time. We was trying out to get pulled. It was so many positions, tight ends, receivers, linebackers, and they was grading us out from speed, catching, we were lifting weights. I mean, it was a full day of workouts. So, but you get it put in, your name put in the draft. I actually, ranked high, out of all those tight ends. I was number 3. And, but they put us in the draft and I got drafted and just decided not to go.
Hey, sometimes life dictates other moves for us to be made, and things happen where, like you said, at this time now, you got married while you were playing in the NFL, is what I understand, right?
Well, actually, I got married in 89, and when I left the Vikings was in 88. It was in
Okay.
88.
All right, because I was gonna
Mm-hmm.
say, what was that
Yeah.
life like being in the NFL and traveling all around the United States and being married? So here's my question. Being that all of these things, the neighborhood you grew up in, getting in trouble, your parents splitting up, going to college, getting into football, what what if you could any how did your faith or how is your faith how did it from you from your head, how did your faith play a part in all of that? And I've listened to the story, but I just want you to give me a recap of how your faith in God played in all of these situations. If you can recount it right now, how did your faith and how did and how was your faith in all of that?
My faith was very strong as a young Christian, and that's what I when I talk to younger kids that's even when they're in sports or not, or even like a lot of the younger kids at the church, I try to let them know don't feel bad about worshiping God and praise God. Don't let anything interfere with that, because in the long run, that's what's going to get you through. That's what's going to get you where you want to go. And I think a lot of it has to do with when I was younger that my faith was very strong. My teammates in college, they called me John Boy, milk and honey guy, because we used to have, when we at Tennessee State, we used to have beer and stuff all over the dorms and stuff whenever we won games, and they never saw me drinking, and I didn't. And because I was just, like I said, still trying to live that life of Christ amongst guys that wasn't, and wasn't judging them, but at the fact, that was my focus at the time. And I would say my faith made me disciplined as a young man. It made me disciplined because I can remember walking up that hill at Tennessee State and just sitting on that hill and just praying to God, just sitting there praying to God. And, and I had a vision. I had a vision of seeing myself playing football. I was never one I had write-ups in college, whatever, I scored 3 touchdowns and stuff like that. But I wasn't like one of the guys that the reporter would come run to and, hey, let me get Riley Walton's opinion on the game and how many, touchdown scores or whatever. I was just a guy just done my job, and after it was over with, was ready to, go to church service on Sundays and eat with my family, come back to Sunday meetings at school and college. So I would say my faith had a lot to do with it, because even when I was in Chicago, we had enough time to, after our first 2 practices, where our first practice, we had a gap in between that second practice, and we would eat lunch, and then I would go back to the dorm. I would go over my playbook, and then we'll go to the second practice, have another meeting, then that was over. And instead of me mingling with the guys, and I had a friend that I met, he was from Chicago, his name was E.J. Jones, and we would hang out for a minute, but then I would go right back in that room, and I would study my plays, and the last thing I would do, I would read a chapter in the Bible, and then I would pray. And my prayer was, Lord, allow me to display the gift that you've given me to the best of my ability, and hopefully the coaches will see my talents, and that was my prayer. And I really owe it a lot to my faith being that allowed me to be disciplined, because a lot of guys, man, they was hanging out doing this and that, and I wasn't doing those things.
Do you think, and this is a transparent place, and it's never malice. But I'm gonna ask you this question. Do you think the demons of your father kept you so faithful and so true to your faith because you saw who he was and you never wanted to be that person?
And that is so correct, because I never wanted to be that person. And here we go again. I owe a whole lot to my mom. You'll hear people say women can't raise boys. In a way, I'm kind of different on that because my mom, even though my dad was up the street, was close by, and all she had to do was call him, but she had to deal with us. I mean, I tried her twice in my lifetime and regretted it both times that I done it, but she used to always set us down, and we used to have family meetings a lot, and she used to always say, be better than us. Be better than your father. Be better than me. Go, have a family and be better, you know. And one of the things me and my brother used to always talk about is it's not going to be any more poor Waltons raised in the projects. That was our goal for our whole family, not to be, raised up in the projects. And that was, I think, a motivation for me to want to go further than I went. I mean, that was one of my goals, play pro football. I can remember asking teachers and coaches we used to run up to Tennessee State when we were young and watch they practicing. I used to ask the coach, how do I go pro? How do I go pro? I never got the answer that I wanted. They would always say, go to school, learn something. I said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to be good enough to go. They never said anything about training. They would say, get your books, go to school. So that what made me want to go to college because I wanted to go pro.
But see,
Uh,
that's wonderful. You had the drive and the ambition, but there are kids out here who don't have that drive and that ambition and don't have a mind that is set on a goal. It's so many young men out here nowadays that are following the neighborhood, that are following the boys that are doing whatever. And now we live in this time of virtual spaces, and everybody's following the trends of what's popular on the internet. And it's
and,
crazy.
and you're so right. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to paint a picture that I was a saint here. And hey man, I ran around with guys. We used to break into the schools on the weekends and stuff like that. And I done that. I can remember standing on a corner with some guys, and we were talking about going to steal. We were talking about going to Charlotte, walking down on Charlotte and steal. And I remember my daddy driving up the street in his work truck, saw me, pulled over, told me to come here, told me to take my behind home, and you better be there when I call you. And I did that, and he called, and about an hour or two later, the police bringing two of our friends back, was talking about stealing. So, I still did things that a lot of kids do, but I think with me, I was blessed to the point where I knew how far to go. And I appreciate you saying I was focused and stuff like that, but it's very easy to get off focus when you in an environment of, like we was in. But to the credit to some of my friends I grew up with, it was something about that upper part of that drive. I say about the first 5 or 6 rows, a lot of us wanted to play sports. You get deeper into that drive, a lot of those guys wanted to break in people's houses and stuff and rob folks. It was just a difference. We talk about it to this day with some of my other friends, like with Troy Wade and Tim Taylor. We all wanted to be better. And I think that's what helped us in our area. But some of those other guys, they went to prison. A lot of them dead. A lot of them, they're not doing good to this day. Right? In fact, you can drive on 40 right now, still see some of them standing out drinking 40s and telling the same dry jokes it was 30-something years ago.
And you know what? That is crazy because some people can't leave the neighborhood. You know,
Exactly.
it changes.
Exactly.
It has changed. The people have changed. This is what, 40, 50 years later. Let's call it 40 years because
Yeah.
you are a senior to us, and I'm not being
Yeah.
disrespectful. we're all
No, no,
proud of
no.
our
No, no.
we're all proud of our ages, and thank
Yeah.
God that he's blessed you and you are able to live to see the age that you are. And like you said, a lot of your friends died, or they're having health problems, or they're still stuck. And that to me is wild when you have people that are still stuck, and then you look at people like you that had faith, and you were faith and focused, and you knew
Yeah.
what you wanted at an early age. And some of these people did not know. And it doesn't matter if you had two parents or one parent in the household. I am a product
Right.
of
Right.
a single parent home. But like you said, my
Right.
mother raised a man. She raised a
Right.
man.
Right. 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 She sure
So,
did. She sure
you
did.
know,
I
there are
give
some
credit
people
to
out
women
here.
to see women to do that.
Right, right. But there are some people out here, like you said, that says a woman can't raise a man. Well, a woman can raise a man to the best of her ability, to the best of
Ability.
her
Right.
ability. And
Right. Right.
a lot of us single parent home kids are the ones that are out here living productive and faithful lives and have been blessed abundantly by the Lord because we had that praying mother. We had that praying
Yes.
grandmother. We had those
Yes.
people in our life that was praying for us, and that was,
Yes.
like you said, your daddy said, "Hey boy, get your behind home." And he
Right.
had to follow through to make that phone
Yeah.
call and say, "Hey, you at home?"
Right. Right.
A
And I'll
lot of
also add to that. I'll add to that. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'll add to that. I remember going to those court hearings with dealing with the teachers. I saw the hurt on my mother's face and the embarrassment. Each time we went to court, I was just embarrassed because I saw my mother. I saw her hurt. It was almost like if I did a crime or something, and I ain't do no but throw a chair at a teacher. But I saw my mother's face, and the pain that pained me to see her that way. And I made up in my mind, if I get out of this situation, I never put a frown on her face again. And of course, I didn't go back to that school. I didn't even get to play football because the coach was trying to get me to play football there. I had to, actually, they was getting ready to kick me out of Davidson County school system, period. And my mom, they was getting ready to send me to Memphis to go to school with my uncle there. And there was a lot of them in the house at the time. And, but I was blessed enough to not get kicked out of Davidson County, but I had to go to another school. So I had to catch the city bus from West Nashville to South Nashville to go to Rose Park. And that's why I had to go to school in the ninth grade. At that time, the ninth grade wasn't involved with high school like it is today. So ninth grade had its own, it was like a junior high school as well. My grandmother stayed in the retirement homes out there at the time. Sometimes I would stay the night with her because our grandfather had passed, and and go to school from there. And be honest with you, man, that was like I said, God moved in a mysterious way. That was the best move for my life at that time because I was getting in trouble in bass, fighting and stuff all the time. And when I went there, I met a new set of friends, and peer pressure once again tried to infiltrate me. And I had a sense of to escape it. And the principal there took me. He asked me that I wanted to play football after school one day, and I thought he would take me out in the field or something to play sandlot. He actually took me to the game. They put me in helmet, shoulder pads. I ain't even have no cleats, so I had tennis shoes on. Threw me in the game, and I had like 3 sacks, batted ball, 2 fumble recoveries, and we beat our school rivals, Cameron Middle School. And I got a new bunch of friends from there. They started calling me Too Tall Jones and all that stuff, and it felt good. And that right there turned my whole life around right there.
Man, and it's amazing how teachers and administrators at school can
Yeah.
change a child's life forever. You'll never forget that.
Yeah.
You're your
Yeah.
age now, and you still remember this
Yeah.
story, and that's an amazing
Mr.
story.
McLean.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's
I,
an
me- I,
amazing
I remember
story.
his name, Mr. McLean, Principal McLean. Yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
never
And
forget
so that's
that
why I
name
say
for
for
the
me it
rest of
was a
your life.
lot. Yeah, it was a lot of, God put a lot of mentors in my life that I can, I can, each stage of my life, I could call one of them out at any time. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't one particular person. It was many mentors. Uh,
That's
and,
wonderful. So here's another question. What would you tell a young man that's growing up in the same neighborhood you did? If you had the opportunity to give him some advice, what would you tell that young man right now? Because even though the neighborhood has changed, like you said, some of the same people are still hanging out in that neighborhood, and some of the people in the neighborhood still have the same mentality as they did when you grew up. What would you tell that young man right now that's in that neighborhood that's growing up and don't know which way or what direction to go? What would you say to that young man?
well, I would start off telling them my story. I said, I've been where you are. I've been where you are now before. I've have experienced what you experience right now. And it's not all lost. It's not a all lost thing. Your father don't have to be around. I mean, it makes a difference, but you still, in a way, have a responsibility to make your mother happy and not put a frown on her face. And to be honest with you, there was a lot of younger guys, younger than me at that particular time, saw the transformation of me turning from the guy that was fighting all the time to the guy doing something positive. Like a guy named Calvin Taylor, man, me and Calvin, I mean, used to talk to them guys all the time about, you know, God and Christ, especially when I became a Christian. I had a perfect example, and I'm just using examples because try to get to your answer here. I got hit in the back of the head with a bat playing baseball by one of our neighborhood guys, and everybody just knew. Everybody like, oh, he can Big Riley, get ready to get him. And I was man enough to just, man, I was get ready to tear Art up. And then and the Holy Spirit spoke to him and say, you supposed to be an example of a Christian. And I walked up to him and I said, I hope God punish you for what you did, even though I shouldn't have said that. And I told him that, and I didn't jump on him. And those guys saw that, and they saw the change in me. So only thing I could to say is tell a young man is be around positive people and not negative people. Make a decision. And you may look up to somebody that's negative, because I had people that I looked up to that were negative. One of my cousins, Freddie, he ended up on drugs. And I can tell you, I can remember the day he ended up on drugs. But I would tell a young man, sometimes you have to make a decision of somebody you look up to. If he's not doing the right thing, you have to make a decision. You don't want that person to take you down. And this is me talking to a young man saying, you want to be around positive people. You want to be around peaceful people that's doing things constructively to make a difference in their lives and not to be destructive to their lives and their family lives. These are the things that I would be saying to them. You have to walk in a positive posture to get to where you're going. If you don't walk and you standing still, I've told my kids this plenty of times. The man that stands still goes nowhere. But if you're walking toward a positive goal, towards something positive, you could be anything that you want to be. You also can walk in a negative posture, and you'll be the least of what you can be. But if you standing still, you'll be the guys that still stuck in the neighborhood.
Man, that is wonderful. So, all of that said, it's a wonderful, wonderful story, and I appreciate, you sharing your story because a lot of people don't get the opportunity to share their stories. You've been married for how many years?
35,
You worked for
35,
you worked for the sheriff's department for how many years?
32 years.
32. You've been married for 35 years and you've been working for the sheriff's department for 32 years. Okay. So we got all the business out of the front. Now
Right.
let me ask you a couple questions here. Okay. Being married for that long, and people always ask, how do you make a marriage work that long? How do you get past the fighting?
The fighting.
The
Oh
fighting,
man,
because there's
yeah, the
always
early
disagreements. How do you get past the fighting?
man, the fighting. I mean, because it's a tug of war. It's a tug of war of I still want to do my selfish things, and that person still want to do their selfish things. And just be honest with you, sometimes it's tough. It's tough to get past that. Sometimes you have to revisit what you argue about. Things of that nature. It could be multitudes of things. It could be little bit of things, money, uh, going out somewhere. I mean, it could be a lot of stuff, but getting past it is, I remember one of the, advice that we had got when we got married is don't go to bed mad. Well, sometimes that don't work. I just
At
made up
least,
my
at
mind.
least, but hey, at least you're honest about it. A lot of people aren't honest and say that sometimes does not work. At least you're honest about it.
Right, right. What we have learned over the years is for us to get past a situation is to not to let it get worse than what the argument might get heated, and then, you cool off, go to bed mad, wake up the next day mad, nobody really speaking, then all of a sudden, somebody will talk, and then we'll start back talking again. But the issue is still there. It's still there. And then get to the point where we could talk about it and not really fuss about it. Because when you get to that point where you're hiding, ain't nobody listening. But when you can get to the point where you're listening, then you can resolve a situation.
That is true, and that's wonderful. And a lot of people can't be honest about that. So, because a lot of people say, "Don't go to bed mad. Don't go to bed mad. Don't go to bed mad." But the fact of the
Right.
matter is, like you said, sometimes you go to bed mad. Okay, so what does Riley right now? What is Riley's guilty pleasure? What do you like to indulge in? Ice cream, cookies, driving down the road, listening to music. What is Riley's guilty pleasure?
Well, it's sweets right now. It's cakes, pies, sometimes ice cream. But I will have to say this year, I've done a good job in not indulging so much into it. I would, if they say for example, Sunday is most times where I probably have something sweet. And then throughout the week, I'll be disciplined. I have actually, me and my wife have actually fasted a lot this year, more than we have ever have before. And not doing, when the pastor called a fast, I mean, even on our own, we have actually went no, I take it back, 48 hours fast. And we were trying to do a third one, and we couldn't make it through that third one. But, that would be this is my weakness. Hers is bread, but mine is sweets. But I've actually done a good job, this year of not indulging so much into it.
All right. So if that is your guilty pleasure, what is one thing that Riley stands on the most out of anything else? Is it health? Is it family? Is it uh racial issues? Is it politics? What is one thing that Riley stands firm on no matter what?
Family, family. I stand on family, and my regular is, and my dad actually taught me this. Uh, relationship with God, family, your relationship with your family, your finances, and your health. And those right now, those are the main three things that I'll stand on um, right now. Of course, loyalty to my family and my friends, and most of all to God, you know. And but those are the things I stand on.
If I got in your car right now, what would you be listening to?
If you got in my car right now, probably nothing. I got to the point where I don't even listen to radio music anymore as much as I used to when I was younger. You know, yeah, sometimes I just love driving and being in deep thought sometimes, especially, on a trip, you know, like, especially because I'm going to a funeral, next week and I'm going to it's in Memphis, and a lot of times the radio won't be on. Mm,
Right. Okay.
you
I mean, that's
know.
cool. If that was a board game, what's Riley's favorite board game?
The favorite board game. Oh man. Well, you said board game. I like playing spades. I will say that, but board game, and it wouldn't be Monopoly because I ain't good at
Monopoly. Monopoly is your favorite board
Monopoly.
game. Hey, that's fine, man.
But,
That's fine. Okay. So,
but,
in our community, they say black people don't swim because we're afraid of water. Can you swim?
uh, yes and no. I can't swim, but I can swim in the 3 feet.
So you can
You say
float.
we're having fun, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. So you can float. You can't swim, but you'll float.
That ain't
Right,
swimming.
right. Get in deeper than that, I'm in trouble. That's why
Man,
I was asking Van Cleef about that seawater. I said, okay, I got a chance. If I end up in the seawater, I got a chance. I was floating a little bit.
you gonna float. You said float. And Van Cleef says that ain't swimming. He says that's not swimming.
Right,
That
right.
is not swimming. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
What is if you got a free day and the wife says, hey, go on, hang out with your buddies or whatever, old football colleagues or whatever. Where are you guys hanging out at? Are you hanging out at a bar? Are you hanging out at a lounge? Are you hanging out at a restaurant? Where are you all hanging out at? And just where would you consider a place to hang out and have a good time?
We've hanging out at restaurants. Most of the time it's restaurants. We've hung out at, what the place, Jonathan's downtown before. And that's, and it's funny you say that. A lot of times when I do get with my buddies and just have a free day, it's some of my football buddies, some of my ex co-workers that we used to work together or whatever. Like I was just with, one of my teammates from college, and he's a retired Metro police officer. We had got together at, the gyro place on Dickinson Road and sit there and just got to talk about old times and stuff like that. And a lot of times, we'll call each other up. They say I'm the organizer. They say, well, get everybody together. So I'm the one that call everybody up. So, okay, where we meeting today or where we meeting at next week or whatever. So, um, that's what we'll do, and I'll call everybody up and get them together. Hmm.
All right. So if I was to ask your old teammates about you, what would they say about you?
Man, they'll say, don't make him mad. He's quiet, but don't make him mad. I get that a lot. They get that. Don't make him mad, but he's quiet, but don't make him mad. Uh, my college teammates, and I didn't realize how much they did. Like I said, I thought I was just an average player, but a lot of them said, man, I was tough to deal with, and I appreciate them saying that. But to me, I was just trying to get better every day, you know. Um, but yeah, they would say, man, this mild mannered guy, just just love people, can get along with people.
So don't
Hmm.
don't mess with him. But he's a quiet guy. He's mild mannered, but you might lose your head if you mess with Riley.
Well, and and the killing part about it, I got to the point where you can mess with me and I'm okay, but when you start messing with my family, now it's a different story. You know, I'm different when it comes to that, but with me, I can kind of, and I'm talking about myself, I can kind of control myself to that, to get to that point of not control. My dad, he used to tell me, say, hey, walk away until you can't walk away. So I still try to live by that rule. And sometimes people just try to push your button, because they want to see if they can poke the bear.
That is the world we live in. People want to try to get some sort of reaction out of you. We live in a world where reactions, so we can film it, so we can put it on our social media. We
Yeah,
want to get a reaction. Let's get a reaction. No, I don't want to get a reaction. I just want to be blessed, and I want to live in this world, and I want to love everyone. I want to love
right, right,
everyone.
right,
I love
right.
every one of my listeners. I love you, my brother. I love Dave. I
Man,
love Mark. I
yeah,
love everybody that's in the room. I just want
yeah,
to have some peace.
yeah.
My
And I get
version
that
of
from my
peace.
mom. Yeah, I think I get that from my mother because she didn't meet a stranger. She loved people. Now she didn't trust a lot of people, but when she met you and you came around, she would always ask about you. If she had met you, David, the next time she saw me, she would say, well, how David doing? Is he doing okay? And stuff like that. If something happened bad to somebody that she had met, she would feel bad about it, just like she'd been knowing him for years or whatever. I saw the way she loved people, and I think I would say I got that from her.
You're
You
definitely
know,
doing. That is
yeah.
wonderful, man. And like I said, man, I appreciate your faith and being focused and things of that nature. It is a breath of fresh air to hear someone's journey and how I'm a natural native, you're a natural native. When I grew up,
Hmm.
Preston Taylor was a different, I don't know how different it was from the times you grew up in Preston Taylor, but when I grew up, Preston Taylor was notorious, and it was a place that you
Yeah.
didn't want to be. It was a place
Right.
that
Right.
was
Right.
riddled with violence and drugs and
Yeah.
when I say poverty, I just mean people that were not trying to get themselves up and fix themselves, along with the other set of projects, Sam Levy Housing, and also James Casey
Georgia Court.
Projects, Georgia Court.
Georgia
These,
Court. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of these places will feel, and when I say the word poverty, that's in my head because I can't come up with the proper terminology at the moment, but it was filled with people
Right.
who were not trying to do better. It was filled with people
And
that was okay with what the government was giving them.
you know what, man? And that's what I'm sitting here thinking. The group that we had. That's why I said, man, it had to be best. The majority of the group that we had there, everybody was trying to in that area. The first 4 or 5 rows we was at, everybody wanted to do something. Everybody wanted to do something. I can remember us going to the car wash up there. It used to be Purple Cow on 40th Avenue, and we would wash people's cars for money. And they would give them money. We would ask them, could we wash your cars? We were young, and they would let us wash cars. They would give us $2 or $3, some five. Sometimes we got 20s, or whatever. It's just that it was a survival type of thing, but we had even parents, was pushing us to do something. I remember one of the guys, like I said, it was a lot of mentors. A guy was just watching us play football, and he called me over. One of the oldest guys that used to, kind of stand around and drink, but he didn't get in trouble. He said, man, you got some good hands. You ought to keep playing football. Just encouraging. Sometimes the young man you were telling me to talk to, they need encouragement. You know, you can do this thing. Look at me. You can do this thing. Look at so and so. Sometimes just a picture that just need to be drawn saying, if you take these steps, this is what you can be. But if you take these steps, this is the road that you're going to go down. It's really your choice. And
Very true.
something happened in their lifetime, they could turn it around for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
And
sir.
if
Very
if
true.
it don't, man, God bless them. But, you know, and like I said, the prayers of the saints, we have to continue, you know, continue praying for them. Like, but I'm here for you, brother. I'm here. You know, the mentor thing helped me out a whole lot. You know, helped me out a whole lot. You know, and that's why I, you know, gave back. You know, when I was in the position to give back, even when I was in the midst of my younger colleagues, I gave back. I had a guy that called me and ran into another good friend of mine, and they got to talking, and they found out they knew me. And not to put myself on a pedestal, it just I get great you know, thrill of you know, talking about knowing that I helped somebody. And that young fella got my number from my other friend, called me. He said, man, I've been trying to find you for years. And he told me, he said, man, I appreciate it. He said, you the one made me want to go to college because I looked up to you and you went to Tennessee State. And I never thought, he told me he never thought a project kid could go to college. But when he saw me go to college and play for Tennessee State, and they used to come there and watch me play, that motivated to him, and he went and played for MTSU. And I said, Rodney, his name was Rodney, and he used to live right behind us. I mean, he was little, you know. And I mean, that made me realize how important I was. I remember getting a Bible from my aunt for scoring 2 touchdowns against Alabama A&M at Tennessee State. And she had my name on it. And she told me at her dinner table that Sunday, she said, with this, you could be everything that you want to be, but without it, you'll be nothing. And I took that to heart. I mean, I was just blessed with a lot of mentors, females and men. I was just blessed with that.
Man,
And that's why I say mentor can be all of us.
right, right. It's in all of us, but man, that is
Yeah.
powerful. That's powerful. And Riley, pat yourself on the back. We all are looking for the opportunity. Reach one, teach one. You saved
Yes, sir.
one soul, so you got God points for that. You saved one soul.
You,
The thing is, you ain't got to save 10, but you saved one. So you did your due diligence as a disciple, as one of God's faithful children. You did it. So you know a lot of people want to say they're humble and they don't want to brag or boast, but that is an amazing story to hear that your life was so impressionable that you made an impression on another person and inspired them to chase their dreams and their goals.
yeah. That's why I say that the men group you guys are dealing with, man, that's a great thing. I think I told you that the other day. I said that is so powerful. That is so useful. We don't have enough of that. And you know, just picking a brother up, you know, iron sharpening iron. I mean, all of that, man. And that is so. I mean, and the thing is, you guys dealing with guys you don't even know. You know what I'm saying? And that's great. I mean, it's more that is needed. More of it is needed.
Check this out. I
Hmm.
ain't told nobody. This is something that I didn't tell anybody, but we left that day. That was this Sunday. We left. And as I'm leaving there, a cousin of mine called me through Facebook on Messenger. He called me. Now this cousin of mine, we're the same age, but our lives, like you said, choices. Our lives went in 2 totally different directions. Okay.
Hmm.
He has been in and out of penitentiary for
Hmm.
half of our lives. Half of our lives, he's been in and out of penitentiary. For the last 5 years, he's been out of penitentiary. He's been home. He's been working. He saw me post on Facebook, and he called me
Oh
on
man,
Facebook, and he says, "Cuz, I want to be a part of what you're a part of. That looks like something that I need to be a part of." He said,
now that's
"I
what I'm
need to
talking about.
have some positive, real role models around me and in my life. I need some positive men in my life." And do you know how
Right,
I wanted to shout and scream and get out of my car and break
man.
dance to hear him say
You know what I'm
he wanted to
saying?
be a part of this group because he wants better for himself in his life. And we're in our 40s. And
Right.
I know the whole entire time we was in our 30s, he spent most of that in jail.
See what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there. Look how it's a magnet. It's a magnet for you guys to be able to pull somebody like that in. You see what I'm saying? What do you
Right.
see you doing? Yeah.
Right. So it's powerful when you tell that story, brother. Keep telling that story because that story is inspiring to hear that your life inspires somebody else to say, I didn't think a kid from the projects could go to college. Well, yes, it's choices. It's
Yes.
choices.
Yes.
And once you
Yes.
make the right choice, you can do anything you want to in your life.
Hey, Brother
Yeah.
Riley,
Yes, sir.
the one thing I wanted to say after listening to your story, I applaud you and your brother for setting that goal to elevate your family's position. There's
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
families that just it's like a
Hmm.
merry-go-round or a revolving door. They take that Section
Right.
8 housing, and that Section 8 is a terrible thing because
Yes, it
ladies
is.
can stay here, but you can't have a man in the house, and that destroys the
Right.
family because the man is
Yep.
not in his
It
place,
does.
forcing the woman to do a job she's not uh, meant to
Yeah.
do. But man,
Right.
to say, you know what, we're picking this family up and we're moving the ball down the field. We're not going backwards. We're going forward.
Going forward. Yes, sir. Me and him used to have meetings about that. Just me and him. And that's why I miss him so much to this day. Joe, that's why I said what I said to you. And I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you coming into this family and being a positive role model, in this family. But we used to sit and just talk about how we was going to do it. Um, his kids was my kids was his kids, and my sister kids was our kids, and we spent time with them, and really too, it's about building relationship. I think Mr. Taylor on last week that I was listening to him, and one of the key things he had said, relationship. Man, you build that relationship, you can you can get an ear, you can get that person to listen to you and respect what you're saying or whatever. But yeah, we sit down and talk about it, how we're going to do it. And see, my brother, he would have different way by showing them guys. But my brother got his master and went back to school and showed them. We all went to several. My kids were young and they were like, "Hey, Uncle Kenny done it. I'm gonna get my college education too. And we just we didn't talk about it. We done it. You know.
That
So
is
that's
great doing.
yeah,
A lot of people love to see examples because in this day and time, so many people talk about what they're going to do, but nobody
right,
really shows real positive examples of what they have done.
right, right, right,
So,
right.
right,
And
I just
and
to
they could tell.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of Dave, I applaud you, my brother. I applaud you for the life that you've lived. I applaud you for being the man that you've been. And we need a lot more men out here that are focused enough to follow their dream and to elevate their families and to be the example of a man that a boy needs to see. And that's why we're here, is to share stories like yours and to let the world know that, hey, real men do exist.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
Most
not
definitely.
right, and not what society says a real man is, but what God says a real man is.
And that's why I was getting ready to come. I was going to say I owe it all to the Lord for allowing the things to happen for me to even grow into Him even more so, and to be guided and led by Him. And that's why I hang my hat on that. And we talk about standing on something. That's what that's what I stand on. I'll stand on how God had led me out of that wilderness into the likeness.
Man,
And it
amen,
still
my
got work
brother.
to do. Still
All right.
got work to do. Still got work to do.
So
So,
here's I'm about to let everybody enjoy the rest of their night. But what is your message if you could give a short message to the world, what would it be?
uh, show the love of God. Love yourself first. Love mankind and love God, and just show the love of it. Even if a situation come about, learn how to shake situations to continue to move on. Learn how to not hold on to things. And there's another thing I can add to being married for 35 years, we've learned how to get over situations sooner than later. And if we mad at each other today, we'll make sure we're not mad at each other the next day. And we've gotten a lot better with that.
That is some good advice, man. That is some good advice, and that'll be it. We will get into marriage on another show, but this was about your life, and I just want to say thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being transparent and open about what made you and how your life brought you to where you are today, because where you are today is totally different than you were 10 years ago, than you were 20 years ago, than you were 30 years ago. Life was totally different from you, but all of those experiences have made you a wonderful man and who you are today.
Yes, sir. I appreciate your show, man. I hope I didn't jump around too much with you guys. It's just y'all had my mind racing. I was 62 years old, and sometimes I got to think back like, wait a minute, okay, my dates might be wrong. You know what I'm saying?
That's all right, man. That's all right. But and I also want to say this: you are a listener because you went back to another show that we had last week. Shout out to Mr. Robert Taylor. That was a wonderful interview. His organization is wonderful. He's a wonderful guy. He works for the Metro Schools, and he's also a liaison for a couple of other programs and organizations that are trying to help fathers like we are. We are trying to connect this city when it comes to fatherhood, brotherhood, and manhood. We're trying to connect this city and get a better health score for the men in this city. And once we get a better health score for the men in this city, then we're going to branch out and we're going to try to help the next city and the next city until we can spread out across the United States and get a better health score. And what I mean by health score is mental, physical, emotional. And once you get a man's mental and his emotions together, he can be a better man, a better father, a better husband, a better brother. Once you get those things together, and that's what we're working on, because a lot of brothers out here feel like they are dying and they're living in silence and they have no one to talk to. And what they're going through, they're the only people going through it when, in fact, other brothers have been through it.
That's what it's about, my brother. That is what it's about.
Right. So we just want to say thank you, and we appreciate you, and thank you for being a loyal listener to the show, man. Thank you for being a loyal listener. And we'll see you on Friday, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Friday, 6 o'clock.
Right.
Friday, 6
All right.
o'clock.
7 o'clock.
6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. 6
6 o'clock.
o'clock.
6 o'clock. 6 o'clock.
Dave, what you got to
Yes,
say?
sir.
Take us out, Dave.
Hey, just want to give a shout out to Mark. Thanks for being a long time listener as well. You got anything to say, Mark?
No, I'm just listening, man. It's pretty interesting. I did some.
Clarksville in the house.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't seem to be a faithful. I try to get in when I get in. A lot of times it's just it's the hours, man. I'm trying to get my little family time in. Hey, congratulations on that 35 years of marriage, man. That I know what that's like.
Thank you, sir.
I literally know what that's like. I think we're about hitting 40. I think we're at about 38, maybe. We up
Okay,
there.
that's good.
Yeah. So I know it's some work. I know the work you put in to make it last. The arguments to going to bed, going to bed mad. Try not to go to bed mad, but sometimes it happens. So I mean, that really resonated with me, man. I truly understand it, and I'm with the rest of them. I applaud your life stories. It seemed like it's one that came from like a phoenix. You just rose from the ashes and you soared. So hey, you have a great story to tell, and you just keep telling it, man. You just keep telling it.
Well, I
Hey,
appreciate it, man. I hope it wasn't too boring. I was just reflecting and just going with the flow of it. But yeah, that's my story, man. And I appreciate you guys, just checking it out. And we all got different chapters in our life, and that's what kind of got me where I'm at today.
Yeah, everybody got a story, man. And, if we all here to tell it, that must mean we did something good or something right along the way.
Amen.
Exactly.
Amen, my brothers. Amen. If
Because
we
it's hard
all
being a
here to
black
tell,
man in America. It
hey,
is.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
hey, but you're right. If we're all here to tell the story, then we must have did something right, man. We must have. Somebody prayed for us somewhere, and we made
so
some right choices.
there you go.
Yes.
Surround yourself with positive people, man. When you start making positive choices, positive things start happening, man. I mean, that's inevitable. It
Yeah.
worked out in my life. So, and it seemed like it worked out in everybody that's in this group, that shows up in this group, and I'm really inspired to be here when I am here, so.
Hey, but
Yes,
you know
sir.
what? We appreciate you being here, Mark. You always we have been in shows where we were looking for you. We were trying to. It was like we wish Mark was here.
You said
Yes, I
something
can
last week that kind of
attest to
caught me
that.
off guard, man, about you. You were saying something about, you had one of the greatest, shows, one of the top leading shows. I was like, I, I can't remember what, you were saying it to Morris. I think it was Morris last week
Yeah,
or a week before that, when we were talking to Mr. Taylor, when Mr.
yeah.
Taylor was there, 'cause
It
he
was it
reminded
was a Taylor thing, but it was a Friday. It was a Friday before that, which is a show that I'm talking about. You were driving to pick up your wife from the airport or wherever you was driving to pick her up from.
me, oh, yeah,
That show is right now, it is still one of my highest ranked shows
really?
amongst the kickback. Yes, it is somebody from I don't know if you call somebody in California and told them to listen to it, but somebody in California, Texas, Ohio, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. I mean, we've picked up people from all over the country from that show. Riley was there. I mean, Morris
Yes,
was
I
there. You
was.
was
Yeah, I
there.
was on that show.
Yeah, everybody
Really?
was on that show. Yes, it is right now my number one downloaded show thus far.
Really? I don't even remember what I was talking about. I was just trying to get to the airport.
Listen, go back and listen to Freestyle Friday Part 1. That's the
Okay.
show. Freestyle Friday Part 1. That is the show. Go back and listen to that. And this way you can remember what you said and how far it went. But it was a wonderful conversation. But fellas, it's time to go. I love everybody. Friday, 6 p.m. Please be there.
Roger
Yes,
Amen.
that.
sir. Y'all have a good night and
All
All right,
right.
y'all.
happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you guys,
Happy
man.
Thanksgiving,
Don't eat
everybody.
too much.
Right.
Right, and don't drive.
Yes, right.
Don't eat turkey and drive.
Don't eat turkey and dry. Don't be a turkey. Don't be a giant turkey on
What
Thanksgiving.
you
Huh?
said? Don't be a
Right,
drive
right.
turkey.
Don't be a drive turkey. Hey, y'all have a good one, man.
I love y'all, man.
Y'all
Take it
too,
easy.
Doc. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Kick back the place for brothers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The kick back, a place for brothers. Yeah, yeah. The kick back, a place for brothers. Yeah, yeah. The kick back, a place for brothers. 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 The kick back, a place for brothers.